What is up, guys? Wrestling Premiere is here. Now let me get this straight. From the months of October of 2003 all the way up to January of 2004, Hardcore Holly was the most badass star in SmackDown. Well, that's actually true. Looking at this run, he was menacing. Big Show was choked out. Lesnar feared for his life. It was terrifying for him. I thought the build-up was cool, and they followed up on the story, made something out of it. The match, however, forgettable, but hey, who cares? Why? I'm sure Bob himself loved being in the spotlight for that short time, and plus, if it wasn't Hardcore at the Rumble, who else? It was simply a reward for his very long tenure in WWE. Back then, lasting 5 years in the company was like 12 years nowadays. Billy Gunn, The Undertaker, HBK, Rikishi, and a handful of others remained in the company for that long around 2004. It was a minor token in a way, I guess. But anyways, the push was from out of nowhere. For one, Bob barely hanged around the IC title picture throughout his run, and he technically won the title once, but it was quickly overruled. Other than that, he was pretty relevant in a way, like you'd see him on TV pretty often, and this is after he became Hardcore, I should note. Now, for me to cover the Bob Holly main event push, I gotta go back to 2002 and what caused the little program. You guys already know what it is, so let's get into it. On the September 12th, 2002 episode of SmackDown, Brock Lesnar, the WWE Champion, was set to face and demolish yet another SmackDown star, Hardcore Holly. It felt like a normal day in the office for him. Holly showed no intimidation and quickly went at it. Brock tried out-wrestling him, preventing a slugfest, I guess, and it was pretty rough. Hardcore's taking bumps on the outside, and he struggled to find any sustainable offense. At one moment, Lesnar was trying to go for a powerbomb, and he couldn't really lift Holly, or he was trying to sandbag him, so Lesnar decides to drop him, therefore breaking his neck. Hell, he even kicked him afterwards. Holly, despite the neck, continued the match and nearly got the upset, but lost. See, there's a reason why it's called Hardcore Holly. He's freaking tough. Now, the stories heard for years were pretty conflicting. Oh, Brock did it on purpose. Holly himself claimed that Brock had the flu that night, and also, this is what he had to say about him about 2 years ago. And I quote, "Things happened and it just happened. The timing was off and it wasn't malicious. It wasn't intended to happen, and Brock and I are good friends in and outside the ring," said Holly. "So we had a good working relationship. I enjoyed working with him, and after it happened, he felt bad and he called me after my surgery and he'd check on me periodically and see how I was doing." So for those people that think they know what happened, they don't. Okay, what do you guys think? Is Holly trying to save face, or he's actually telling the truth? Anyways, fast forward to late 2003. At this point, Brock was a 3-time WWE champion, and Hardcore, on the other hand, was still out due to the incident from September of 2002. But he was set to return. After getting some of that ring rust off down in OVW, a vignette aired on the October 23rd, 2003 episode of SmackDown, signaling his arrival. Bob held Brock responsible for the neck injury, and he was straight up returning to end his career, you know? "I'm not finished, I'm gonna get revenge," you know the stuff. Meanwhile, Brock himself didn't even have a worry in the world about this. By my account, you know, I was watching some stuff, I don't think he ever acknowledged it. In other places, Kurt Angle was assembling his Survivor Series team to combat Brock's, and he revealed that Hardcore Holly is going to be a part of his team. Why is that? Because the man was craving action and he was prepared to go through anyone in order to get to Brock Lesnar. During Kurt Angle's match with Nathan Jones, Hardcore Holly made his return. He showed ruthless aggression and no mercy. The fans chanted, "Holly, Holly," or SmackDown's taped, I don't know, and he called out Brock. As expected, the champ never appeared, and so he went to the back to get some of the next big thing. Outdated name, but who cares? Paul Heyman, though, promised to get him Brock, but he was so impatient and tried searching for the champion. Paul then threatened to suspend him as he didn't want to have any legal issues on his part. Holly told Paul to inform Brock that at Survivor Series, he's going to do the same thing that happened to him just a year earlier. You know, I'm going to break his neck. As for how that match went, Holly wasted no time in kicking Brock's ass, but he got eliminated after shoving the ref. That's it. 10 seconds in and he's already out. Funny enough, he never returned to get some of Brock during that match. I'll probably dive into that event later this week because I need one more Survivor Series or 2 to cover, so there's that. Later that week on SmackDown, Hardcore, once again wearing jeans, comes out and tries to lock in a full Nelson. Police, not security, came out this time around and Paul suspended him indefinitely. All of a sudden, he's desperate to play Paul's game. You know, "I'll do what you want," but Paul didn't listen and decided, you know what, you're suspended, you're gone. He was then hauled off to jail. Hardcore did appear via satellite the following week. Damn it, he's wearing the Jobbers t-shirt. He said that he appealed the suspension and it will be lifted soon, and once again, he threatened to break Brock's neck. Paul Heyman, meanwhile, was pretty stressed out over this, and he knew that he had to give in to Holly's demands before it could get worse. He told his assistant, Don Marie, to write a letter to Holly stating that the suspension remains intact until further notice. The letter obviously got to Holly because the following week after Rey Mysterio's match, a fan wearing a Chargers jersey stormed down to the ring. He unmasked to reveal himself as, you guessed it, Cain Velasquez. Also, what the hell is up with Lesnar? Like, bro, this guy stepped into the ring with The Undertaker, yeah, he's almost pissing himself after seeing Holly. But then again, The Undertaker wasn't out to paralyze or kill Brock or anything like that. Whereas Holly, you know, he's a desperate man and he has nothing left to lose, I guess. That's what you could attribute it to. That's my excuse. Brock got his ass unceremoniously kicked out of the ring, and he stormed out of there as SmackDown went off the air. Now, Holly at this point was still suspended, but Paul Heyman decided to invite him to SmackDown. Why is that? Well, apparently, first of all, he's still wearing the Jobbers t-shirt. Second, Heyman had plans for a WWE title match later that night and also booked Holly in a career-threatening match, If he loses, he's done in the WWE. And not only that, it was going to be a tag match. It was going to be a tag match against A-Train and Matt Morgan. Who was his opponent? Well, that was Shannon Moore. As for Brock Lesnar, his opponent for the title ended up being Shannon Moore. He was easily dismantled, and add to that the fact that Shannon had still yet to team up with Hardcore. It was bad. It was real bad. As for how that went, he put in a gutsy performance, and once Holly was in, he was on a roll. The champion, though, got involved, showing that the deck was stacked against Bob. He took a sit-down powerbomb, but kicked out, and if it was 0-2 Holly, that would have been it. The crowd got behind him, and he hit the Alabama Slam on Morgan to win the match, save his job, and receive the title shot. I still find it funny that Lesnar's still scared of him, but like I said, my excuse is that he's scared of a guy that has nothing left to lose, I guess. I don't know. On the first SmackDown of 2004, the Big Show, after getting embarrassed by Rey Mysterio and Hardcore himself, received a one-on-one match against, of course, Bob Holly. That match with the DQ route, and Holly obviously showed why his name is Hardcore. I mean, look at that damn shot. Since Big Show wasn't proud of getting his ass beat, he barged into Paul Heyman's office and asked for a street fight the following week. Also, I should note that title was never, ever defended on his watch until a couple of weeks later. So from October all the way up to February, Big Show never defended the gold. Holly, on the other hand, was pretty satisfied with the match that was booked. Add to that, he had home field advantage. Yeah, he was ecstatic, although it's hard to tell. The match ended up in Holly's way, which is weird to think about. And I also think that when he wears the jeans, he's unstoppable. Anyways, Big Show took control earlier on, but once Holly got a hold of the weapons, it was game over. Brock got his ass beat too, and in the ring, Big Shot sprayed some mace into the eyes of the Big Show and wrapped a chair around his neck to win the match. Lesnar verbally provoked him and ran away. We didn't know how much damage Big Show suffered until the following week when he came out wearing a protective neck brace. Hell, he even had security officers by his side. Reason why they were here was because he's got a restraining order. Yes, if you show anybody this picture and put a gun to their head and ask, who did this to the Big Show? Never in a million years would they think it was Hardcore. Unless it's real life. Brock took advantage of that restraining order and remained by the Big Show's side. The idea was clearly working, and it saved Lesnar a week from Hardcore. Even though he watched from a distance, he couldn't do a damn thing about it. Poor Big Show's dragged into this, and he was annoyed by Lesnar shadowing him, be it inside or outside the ring. Cup of coffee, Brock's following him in. Playing a PS2 game, Brock's following him. It was pretty annoying for him. He wanted time alone to ponder on his matches for that week. Brock claimed he was out here to protect Big Show from Hardcore. It made it seem like the Big Show needed him. I'm here to protect you, blah, blah, blah. The Giant himself, though, he reminded Brock that Holly's out to get him. Like, even though I'm here at the Rumble, he's probably going to kill you. He's going to break your neck or whatever. Even then, I don't care, because all that means is that I'm going to face another champion for the title at WrestleMania. Later that night, Holly himself got some of Brock, and he even locked in the scary full Nelson. Brock, though, finally got a cheap shot in before running away. Now, if you think about it, there wasn't much interactions between both sides in the 2 months they've been feuding. They tried their best to make Hardcore seem like this unstoppable force. The match itself, well, first of all, I can't believe they got a rip-off version of DDP's WCW song, which was a rip-off in itself. The match didn't really have much heat. Brock worked on Holly's ribs, had submission holds on for like 2 or 3 minutes, but he found an opening. Hardcore found an opening, ends up hitting the Alabama Slam, but decides to go for the full Nelson instead. He had the title there, yet he decides, I'm going to go for the full Nelson. Brock drags him to the outside, and inside the ring, he counters the full Nelson into an F5, and that's all she wrote. Okay, what the hell was that about? In defense of the match, though, Hardcore was only a stopgap. Second, Triple H and HBK wanted time for their last man standing match. And third, if you were going to have a 5-minute title match, you wouldn't have Ray, Cena, or Eddie wrestle the champion, right? That's what I'm thinking. So looking at the roster, it makes sense that it was Hardcore Holly that stepped up to the challenge in my eyes. They had a backstory and executed it. I mean, other than Hardcore, Rikishi was there. I mean, you want to see him against Lesnar at the Rumble? Anyways, Hardcore never really had a push of this magnitude following the Rumble. He did make it to the final 5 of the SmackDown Rumble, but other than that, not much. He did face JBL later that year for the title. Yeah, he was just a lower mid-carder. He was in some occasional tag teams with Charlie Haas or Cody Rhodes and stuff like that, so there's that. What do you guys think of this push? Please comment down below. Me personally, I thought it was decent, because Hardcore was like a madman. He was out to destroy Brock. I just found it funny how Brock was scared of him, but once again, my excuse is that he didn't know what this guy was capable of. It wasn't a bad stopgap for Lesnar before WrestleMania, Eddie, all that stuff. And that's the first video. Make sure you hit an Alabama Slam on the like button and perhaps the F5 on the subscribe button. Peace. I'm out.